Can you take me through Taiwan #1?
Okay. So Taiwan #1 pretty much revolved around again the Red Army that was there, and at the time I obviously had no idea that they were from wherever. I just knew it was a different language. Eventually, we get to the bottom of it, and I think somebody was like, they're Chinese. And so back and forth banter-wise, they would say China #1, China #1. So my natural instinct at first was to say, like, USA #1 the first time. And it really didn't get anything. They would, like, more laugh at me. So one day, this was, like, first, second, third day I ran into him. Somebody in my channel is like, he's like, no. Tell them Taiwan #1. So I'm like, okay, having known nothing about, like, you know, the country's histories, I just throw it out there, and immediately they all start losing their shit. And I'm just like, what? So from then on, like, kind of like the Taiwan #1 meme and H1Z1 was born. So.
Yes. Well, so whenever you take down a player who's yelling China #1, just yelling Taiwan #1 back at him.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. It's, you know, it was nothing like anything like crazy. It was just, you know, it was kind of like, I guess, when you have two different languages and you can't really like kind of talk some smack between each other, I guess you do whatever. I mean, we learned some like sabi and like tolema, like some curse words. But
it's amazing. Like you just fight through the barriers, the language barrier, and end up learning all these words of each other's.
I mean, even when Emo GG started like knowing who I was and I knew who he was, he would still talk the small amount he could in English too.
Yes.
And, you know, throw little like insults there and whatnot.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, dude, it's amazing the different people you would meet through that game. Unbelievable. Like, I think I first... because I became good friends with Grims as well over those years, and I think we first bumped into each other in game. Or
well,
maybe,
I was gonna say, like, back then, I'm not sure how servers work, but yeah, I think it was just everybody kind of like all together. Like, I want to say, like, you either picked like, there were servers that were in specific places, but correct me if I'm wrong, since there was an Australian server, right? But wasn't it like dead or something like that all the time? You could never get like matches?
Yeah, so there was EU, US, and AU was just dead ever since the beginning. And eventually, like after the game, like after a little while when the game started to heat up a bit, there would become games of like 30 people a game regularly going. And I'd push that a bit. But before that, nothing. And so I'd just jump on US with all you guys.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So because your Taiwan #1 video that went nuts in Taiwan, that didn't immediately hit, did it? Like it was a while later.
It was, what happened was somebody on Reddit threw it on just like the video page, and I forget what the title of it was, but apparently it just skyrocketed. That was probably like the next transition in my like streaming career in terms of like when the stream saw a bump in numbers. I mean, I'm streaming to like a couple hundred people a day in H1Z1, you know, still plenty of people in front of me. And then the Taiwan #1 video goes viral on YouTube. It does 1 million views in 24 hours.
Oh, man.
And then it gets 3 million by the end of the week. And I'm just like, I open up my stream the next day because I really didn't concentrate on YouTube. It was just kind of like, I put my videos there to just kind of sit, and if anybody wants to go back, they can watch.
Yeah, like an archive.
So I open up the Twitch stream to stream that morning, and I have a couple thousand people in my channel, and most of them aren't speaking English. And I'm just like overwhelmed. I'm like making mods like Battlefield moderators just on the spot if they're in there that I know them a little bit. I was like, all right, I need help. So,
I reckon I was in there that morning and waiting for you to start, and the chat room was just going absolutely nuts before you even started. And I remember, I don't know why I remember this really, really well. And then you put a pug life emote in the chat before you started, and it just started going absolutely mental. And they're like, he's here.
Yeah, it was wild. I mean, it didn't stay like super big, like much longer than like a week to a month, but yeah, the whole Taiwan #1 thing, like, definitely, again, it was another part of like my streaming history where like the stream really, and even to this day, I still have people that are like subbed back from there, you know, just from that incident, you know, whether they be from various places, just from the video being viral, not just, you know, people from Taiwan. It's all over.
Do you think that there's still a lot of viewers in your stream now who are familiar with that time period through that Taiwan #1 like H1Z1 boom?
I mean, I've done DBD for so long that I still do have people that frequent around the stream. But just from a numbers standpoint, like I think I remember I left H1Z1 maybe streaming to like 400 people, maybe 500. And then, yeah, just going to DBD now, like being 4 years later, now it's like 10 times that. So yeah, even the percentage, it's just, there are people there, but it's a very small percentage.
How do you handle yourself, like say that morning, right, coming into like that explosion from the video, because it was on like Taiwan news and whatnot, wasn't it?
Yeah, in their country, it definitely circulated 100%.
Yeah.
Even when I went to the Taipei Game Show 2 years back to back, because I wound up going that year, Twitch wound up wanting me there.
Yeah, so tell me about that. Like, so you went there a couple of times to Taiwan because of that, right?
Yeah. The first time I went there, the best way to, and man, I wish they would have sent like a film crew or something, because the amount of like celebrity status I got there, and this is the best way I can relay it. I got more press attention and more fan attention than Ryan Reynolds when he went out there 2 weeks before pushing Deadpool, the first movie.
Oh my God.
They aired Deadpool like a week ahead of every other country for some reason. He did like some kind of promotional thing. And I had more coverage than he did.
Wow.
So just to kind of put it into like some kind of like perspective, I guess.
Because you were getting mobbed in the streets, right?
I mean, if you go to the convention center, I had hundreds of people that if I went out on the floor would flock to me and create a circle. And I couldn't take pictures fast enough. I took thousands of pictures. Like there were people just trying to get a selfie with me. And like one guy would tap me on the shoulder, selfie. I would turn another way. Another guy tapped me on the shoulder, like selfie. And dude, this went on for like, I'd have to get on and off the floor because I would only be able to do it for like a half an hour. And I'd be like exhausted to a degree.
That is unbelievable.
But yeah, once we went out on the streets and whatnot, people didn't know me as Angry Pug. They knew me. They would call me either #1 was the #1 thing they called me. They would just call me #1.
As you're walking around.
The street, yeah, they would be like, #1, like across the street. And dude, again, even just on the street in the country, not even the convention center, that probably happened about 100 times.
Wow. So, because they aired it on the news, right? And because I don't know how, because it circulated into mainstream, not just people into games over there, right?
Yeah, it was full blown mainstream news over there, 100%.
Wow. That's nuts. I saw a video that was on, I think they put the Taiwan news clip onto YouTube, and like there was like a shot of you at the end of the news clip, like standing there yelling Taiwan #1 because the group of people were like demanding it.
Oh yeah, no, 100%. They wanted, they were waiting for that. Like I kind of like just didn't want to, I don't know, water it down. So I kind of did it a couple times in front of crowds. But yeah, man, when you did it, like the pop was like crazy.
Yeah, you can't just go around yelling it all the time, otherwise it'll get it'll get watered down massively. But so that morning, right? So after that clip went nuts, before going to Taiwan and whatnot, coming into the stream, what do you experience from the streamer's side when you've just been going about your business, you know, doing pretty well over that couple of years, and then there's a few thousand people waiting for you? Like, how do you present yourself pressing the start streaming button that morning?
It's something that I don't think you could ever prepare for. You just try to be as like composed as you can. And I mean, I think on the inside, it was probably the most nervous I've ever been on camera in streaming, just cause I don't think I've ever had a moment where I just wasn't, prepared for, since everything else besides that day was kind of gradual, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So in numbers and whatnot. But yeah, one day all of a sudden, like tuning in and you're streaming to 10 to 20 times the amount of people and you're like, But it was a little bit easier for me, I will say, just because there was the language barrier.
Yes.
So
yeah.
Once I knew I couldn't read something in chat, it was very easy to just kind of move on.
Yes.
So I remember that much.
Well, I suppose you can only answer what you can understand, right?
100%.
Can you give me a Taiwan number one, like a legit Taiwan number one?
Oh man, it's been a while. Let's see. Sure. Taiwan number one.
Yeah! There it is.